Paul, hi.
Hey there.
We did it.
This is what a clusterfuck to start the most exciting podcast we've done in months. And we've had some fucking celebrities on, and I could have given a shit about any of them to be able to sit down and talk to you. I don't think, can we fanboy out, Jeremiah? Can we
Let's
fanboy
do it.
out? Paul, we love you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah,
Pure love.
This is pure love, and we're going to talk all about this. So when Emily, our booker, said that you wanted to come on for the B-52s, I was like, fuck yeah, this sounds great. We're going to party all night and do some stuff. but we are just, and I mean it, like, you know, with so much of your work, you know, your voiceover, but Mr. Show with Bob and David is arguably the greatest collection of comedic actors, sketch artists, whatever you want to say, but it's just, it really influenced so much of what we've done in our lives, and we can't thank you for the amount of laughs that we've had while stoned in my mom's basement. So so brilliant. And I was like, which shirt do I wear tonight? And I was, which one will he find funny? I was like, let me put on a George Thurgood.
There we go. The Delaware Destroyer, absolutely.
Even know his wrestling nickname, which I love. We were going through research. You know, we was something that we like. You know, I don't know if you know this, like, but we were told you're a huge Philadelphia Phillies fan.
Yeah,
like, I mean,
that's my hometown. That's absolutely. I'm a single issue sports fan. I'm only into baseball. That's it. Yeah, I love the Phillies. I love rooting for the home team, and you know, I will always follow them throughout the season until they get knocked out, and then I back the Dodgers till the end of the season.
No, I get it. No, I get it. And that's the thing, is even when I lived in LA for many years, like I'm such a Nationals and Orioles fan that, because I just root for everything Maryland. But to jump on, you know, and give you your flowers about the Phillies is that my mom is from Norristown and my dad went to Temple. So yeah, and I'm from the Washington D.C. area, but I lived in Baltimore, so I kind of have the Philly accent a little bit.
Absolutely,
almost, right?
Yeah, I swallow the.
They're very close, hon. They're very close.
Yeah, very. Yeah, you see that
Kissing
movie?
Cousins.
You see that movie Dune with that homo Timothy Chalamet? Yeah, I like that Jason Momoa though. Jason Momoa, he the good one.
That's a good name to say in that accent.
Oh,
Jason Momoa.
Momoa. Somebody said the best way to say Philly accent is Moses Malone is a hometown hero. Moses Malone.
I also like, yo, Mike, that's quite a nice bike.
That's a podcast, everybody. We're not talking about B-52s. We're doing Philly accents all day. Philly accents from noon to 9 p.m. on K-Rock. Why are you here for the B-52s? Let's start right there. Let's dive into this. There's so much to talk about.
Oh, absolutely. I was thrilled that was still available. And, you know, that album in particular was when I discovered it in my like early 20s, you know, after kind of knowing who the B-52s, I knew Rock Lobster, right? And then when I heard that whole album, I remember the excitement of it and the feeling of like, I'm now in on a sort of a secret thing. You know what I mean? Like I had this feeling like, I know this is for only certain people, and now I'm one of those people. And there was an excitement with that, because the first time I ever saw the B-52s or experienced them was being a little kid and seeing them on SNL, like, you know, promoting that album, and being so fascinated by them and kind of scared of them. Like, these were people that I had never seen anything like this before. And they were so intense and so, you know, like wild, and, you know, doing this music that was like nothing I'd heard before. And I was a little freaked out by them, but absolutely drawn to them. Like I could not look away. But being a little guy and like, what are these people allowed to be like this? You know, like that kind of feeling. And so years later,
yeah,
hearing that album, you know, the thing that's so amazing by them, and listening to a few tracks before we got together to record, was just the thing about them is they're one of those bands that was so doing their own thing that the sound is timeless. You don't listen to that album and say, oh yeah, that's what people were doing back then. Only they were doing that. You know, it's such a weird fusion of influences and sounds that it sounds as fresh to me now as it did when I first heard it.
You know, this is the first time I actually went back and listened to any of their stuff previous then. What was the record, the big one? Cosmic, the one with Love Shack and Rome on it.
Oh, yeah. Cosmic
which,
Party?
Jared, look it up because we want to make sure we get it right. But
that was
Cosmic Thing.
Okay, Cosmic Thing. And there
we almost got it by accident.
Ladies and gentlemen, Morty's in the corner and he's feeding me notes so we might pop in every once in a blue. Cosmic Thing. That was it was Love Shack. Actually, I think the first time I even really because I don't know what came out first, if it was the Shiny Happy People where you saw Kate in it and I was like attracted to her and the way she looked, because, you know, from spending time in Baltimore and like in certain sections, like in the John Waters world, like that whole, the beehive hairdo, it's like, I'd see all those women. We'd go visit our cousins who lived, you know, in the city. And so then going back, it was like, of course, Love Shack, which I always thought was like a joke song, but it's really like, as a bar mitzvah wedding DJ, it was like a banger. You'd put that on. That's on the level with like September by Earth, Wind and Fire. Like you'll get the bubby out on the dance floor if you if you see a faded sign. I mean, by the way, one of my favorite jokes that I do on stage is that Fred Schneider, like he's doing the exact job he should be doing, is being a lead singer of the B-52s. Like it would be odd if he had that voice and he worked at a hospital and he's like, the tumor is benign. Like, it's a $30 copay. But Rome, I was listening to, because I listened to this record a few times and I went back and listened to Rome, and it got me like emotional because it took me right back to the first time I heard it, reminding me of my sister who had that record and how much she loved it. And so then to go back again and then re-listen to this record another time, and then really getting the full grasp of like the history of the band after talking to Morty, it's like ahead of their time, but also touching the past and bringing the past to the future. And it's like, because I think you guys, you were born in the 60s, right? Like you're only a few months old. You're only a few months older than Morty. These guys are born in the 50s, and you know, but it's like, of course, they're coming of age in the 70s. So it's kind of what we do, which is like, you know, the older we get, it's like we're kind of grasping back to go, oh, well, I kind of remember. Of course, I remember Tears for Fears, and now I'm this huge Tears for Fears fan, and you're into like new wave and shit like that. Yeah. Did you feel that? Did you feel that when listening to them, or like?
Oh, I mean, you know, it was because I'm listening to them. I'm getting into them, you know, a full like almost 20 years after that album, right?
Yeah.
I have heard at this point things that influenced them. I've heard you know, people that were their contemporaries and stuff like that, but I did not have the frame of reference of the what's interesting about them is, you know, the 20-year cycle of, okay, now it's the 70s. And so we're going back to the 50s and in terms of fashion and shit like that, it's becoming in pop culture and everything. But these guys in the 70s, in like late 70s, reaching back to like surf guitar and stuff like that, which is a little earlier than the cycle, but they recognize the sort of unsettling sound of it, you know, which is like the sound that they're trying to create is let's take this sort of fun thing, but let's make it sound scary. Let's make it like summertime fun, but let's make it sound like dramatic. We're going to do a song like Rock Lobster, which is insane. We're going to tell this story of this monster at the beach, and we're going to use this sound, but we're going to make it dark. And so it's all on the same spectrum for me at the same time, without the frame of reference of everything that has gone before. And so it is sounding to me, discovering it like I know that this is an old record, but it's like nothing I've heard before, and it exists in its own strange bubble,
Yeah, it does.
And you're instantly cognizant of that, when you're listening to it, that it's like, wow, I would not put this against other albums that came out in that same year and say, yeah, these are all like the same vibe.
Oh my God. What a great way to say that. Yeah. Because there's like, if you look at what came out at the same time, it's like, this is the exact opposite of it. All right. So Morty gave me like a little run through. So let's catch everybody up. And if I fuck this up, Morty, feel free to interject. So the band gets together in Athens, Georgia, which, by the way, and Morty wasn't getting mad at me when I was telling him about how like I wanted to listen to this record, but I'm also right now obsessed with REM, which is also kind of on brand because they're all from the same area.
Athens, Georgia.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I had to fight to listen to this record because all I want to listen to is REM. And I also know that while I was at the gym, I am the only person listening to the B-52s while doing CrossFit. So just so everybody knows, like when you're listening to your Pantera, I'm listening to I'm over there and you're doing that. And it's like, I'm fucking in, dude. So this group of people, they find their tribe, right? They get together, they go to this tiki place, they get a scorpion bowl, which is like a big drink with the straws in it. Then they go to this jam session. The drummer, Keith, who is a multi-instrumentalist, they start jamming together. They all start vibing. They have this kitschy quality from the 50s. That is that is basically a proto disco and the bell bottoms and the polyester. They go back generations and find this aesthetic. The drummer has a dream that they start a band, and the name of the band is the B-52s. B-52s, of course. Do you have to add something? Go ahead, please.
I did not know that. I never heard that.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is according to Morty, so I don't know if he's just freestyling it. But the B-52s, of course, is the hairstyle, like the beehives. Yeah. All of the people in the band, they're born in the 50s. And like we were talking about, they go back and look at what was existing at the time they were born, all the Eisenhower era stuff, the beach blanket movies, the surf music. But they're in Georgia, so it's not really, that's not around them like that, but they hit on the formula and they find their groove. They have no bass player, but Kate plays the keys like Ray from the Doors. And Morty, if I'm right, he told me to say farfisa organ, which is just a fun word to say.
Might not actually be farfisa, but it's that style of sort of 50s.
I like this with you checking in, dude. I like him more.
And then I'm going.
No, shoot. Be gone.
And was he ever really here in the first place?
No,
I don't think he's real. I think he's our Bagger Vance. So she's playing the bass notes. Ricky is playing a Mosrite guitar, which is like a surf guitar. Sometimes he's only using 4 to 5 strings, so he can do single string melodies, tuning it in different ways, up and down in different ways to find interesting sounds and melodies. Less precision, but Keith eventually became their guitar player after Ricky died a few years later from AIDS. Fred, who is a vocalist and is considered one of the singers, he's doing something. There is a name for what he does. It's called, I'm going to fuck it up, Sprexagon, which is speak singing. It's musical talking. And he had brought up another band that kind of copied their style, was Bjork's first band. Do you remember the Sugar Cubes? Yeah. There was the guy that was like, you say up, I say it hurts. And
Einar.
Yes. Yeah, she's a girl. Like there's no real, he's not really singing, but they basically, that is the name of what Fred is doing. The girls, though, they're influenced by Yoko Ono. So when you were talking about the scary noises, all the vocalizations, they're into that, like that famous clip of Chuck Berry playing with John Lennon, and Yoko's there, and she just grabs a mic and goes like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And you can see Chuck Berry's face like, what the fuck is this chick doing? That's basically what they did, but they do it in a much better way. Minimal band, very non-traditional. They do their first show in 76 at a house, and they're off to the races. They go and get signed. They go to Compass Point, where Chris Blackwell has a studio, and they signed their contracts over there. But they're bummed at the way that he produced the record, because Chris wanted it to sound live and raw. So they already had put out a different single of Rock Lobster, and that's basically what John and Yoko heard. But we're going to get to that later when we talk. So some interesting stuff about Rock Lobster. Yeah, I guess that's kind of, you know, what digs us into the record. And Morty, did I miss anything? Because I saw you wrote this Saturday Night Live thing.
I mean, if you want to get to it later, when you talked about Saturday Night Live, but you know, January of 1980 is when that happened. You know, the record comes out near the end of 79. And so to put it in, you know, timeline, you'll know what happened to John Lennon. So this is 1980 and sort of the countdown. Oh yeah. Terry Garr, by the way, the much missed,
let's take a look at that performance. Let's take a look at that performance. Here we go.
When you held my hand, say remember when you were my man. Walk in the name of love before you break.
Yeah, I mean, even just the hairstyle, it's like, but also like Fred's kind of dressed very new wavy. But I mean, yeah, she looks like, you know, something from the 1950s with the beehive, and it's beautiful, by the way. Fred, I'm gonna give Fred his flowers too. He looks phenomenal. Still,
he looks awesome.
Hasn't aged.
Just one more moment you didn't mention is that Cindy and Ricky, the guitar player and vocalist, are brother and sister.
Right.
And so that's, you know, so they already knew each other prior to disco and
I dig it, man. So that's basically to catch us up to what we're digging on. This is their debut record. Came out in I don't have it in front of me. When's the exact date that it came out? Yeah, July of 1979. I'm still not alive yet. I'm still in my I think I'm in utero at that point.
Oh,
yes, I'm in utero.
Definitely.
Yeah, dude. Thank you.
I was born.
Which yesterday was Fred Schneider's birthday, and I'm gone.
All right, be gone. Like, really be gone. Like,
Houdini.
You're not getting a credit on this episode. You've already gotten 95 shout outs. All right, so let's dive into this record. All right, so it opens with Planet Claire. It's really long. They don't start singing until around 2 minutes and 30 seconds into it. It could be the soundtrack to a beach party spy film. There's
a little sci-fi in there, like it's a very spacey sound with the beeps and everything.
Well,
it starts off with.
Yeah, it basically typifies the postmodern sound. It's got the Peter Gunn theme, but with a Dwayne Eddy surf version. So much so that the music is credited to Henry Mancini. Because that which, I mean, the second I heard that, I was like, wait, did they write that? I was like, I feel like I had heard that. Thoughts on the opening song, Paul? Like, what do you want to add to it, or like, what do you feel?
I think it's for them, it is such a perfect opening song. It is telling you this is our vibe. This is what we're all about. You know, this, if you think this is kind of odd when you listen to it and it's like, what's going on here? That's our vibe. So not every song is going to sound exactly like this, but you are going to ask what's going on here with every song.
It's a good like, hey, we're the B-52s. This is a journey you're about to go on. And even the way that leads you in for the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds, it's like you're waiting to hear what you're going to hear, but you're like, is this what it's going to be? And then when it comes in, you're like, oh, this is different.
And lyrically as well, you know, like the Some say she's from Mars or one of the 7 stars that shine after 3:30 in the morning. Well, she isn't. That's like everything about that is it's so great. Like the idea that we all know the stars that shine after 3:30 in the morning, and that you might be guessing this, but you're wrong. She isn't from any of those places. She came from Planet Claire.
She's from Planet Claire, dude.
Yeah.
So we were thinking about what kind of question, and I think what we came up with is best is that so they have Henry Mancini credited as a writer, whose name would you add if you were Planet Paul? Like, whose name would you get added to if there was such an inspiration that maybe people wouldn't know? Like, who added to Planet Paul?
Now, let me ask: Are we talking me as an artist? We're talking like in terms of musical influences, or we're talking about artistic influences?
I think artistic.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, or even just, guided you as a human being, like a more existential. It doesn't just have to be, it's like, who is like, where I would say like my friend Angelo Bauer is a brilliant comic who had passed away. It's like, I've just applied everything and he is that special sauce inside of me, or like, I'm trying to think of, we just had Kenny Wayne Shepherd on, and Muddy Waters, or the guy, whoever the album we had just done with him, like Albert King, like he got to play with all these guys, and they were like the big influences that were there for him. Like who would be the Henry Mancini on your Planet Paul?
The unfortunate one would be Bill Cosby, because he was a storytelling comedian who was from Philadelphia, which was a huge thing. And I one of the biggest heartbreaks in my life was finding out what a fucking creep he was.
I know. Wow.
But another one that's a little lighter is Bob Newhart, because my parents had all the Bob Newhart albums when I was a kid. And I remember listening to them, as like a comedy kid. I loved comedy. I loved it. And so to hear those albums, I was really captivated by, he's doing like these one-man sketches, when he's doing the phone bits and everything. He's one guy. You clearly, his way of communicating it, what was going on in the scene, was so masterfully done. And I remember listening to those albums for the first time since I was a little kid, decades later. And I was moving. And so I was packing up all my shit and everything, put it in boxes. And I'm listening to those albums for the first time since I was a child, and could not believe how fresh they were. There's like maybe a couple dated 60s references, but apart from that, absolutely evergreen and still so funny. His style and his, the way his performance style, were absolutely a big influence on me, and the way that I would put together, jokes and scenes and things. I cannot ever discount that influence.
Yeah. And I completely agree with everything you're saying about Bob, because I mean, I didn't so much as stand up, but just his TV shows, like the last one he did with Newhart. I mean, I loved that show so much. And what's so great about comedy is that you can go back and listen to Lenny Bruce, and you can listen to Carlin, and you can listen to Richard Pryor, like, and all those, even in Cosby, of course. And that's the thing that sucks, is you're 100% right. It's like such a brilliant comedian that influenced so many people, but unfortunately had to tarnish that. And it's like you say about OJ Simpson, is like, man, I mean, dude, he was one of the greatest running backs to ever play the game. It's the other shit. And unfortunately, there's removing the art from the artist, but for certain people, you just go, well, you had your time, and unfortunately,
well, especially something like comedy, which is very personal, it's and also the kind of comedy that he did that was so in touch with the human experience. you can't listen to it because this guy inside him is this fucking monster.
Yeah,
And
right.
it's like, why can't I hear you be cute about going to the dentist when I know all this other stuff about you that is so contrary to being a human being, you know? So yeah, it's hard. It's harder with some people than with others.
It is, but that's what is so great, you know, about like Newhart and those other comics is just like you can listen to them now, and it's like, yeah, you might not get every reference, but the comedy is still there, the gist is still there, and it's like, and then it also takes you back, like especially someone like Carlin and Lenny Bruce. It's like it takes you back to a time when you're like, holy shit, man, like these guys were getting in trouble for the things they were saying, which now would be like fucking nothing, you know. But also Newhart was like so vanilla, but that's what makes him so great is that like, you know, it's like Nate Bargatze. It's like he'll be listened to forever because it's not dirty, it's clean, and it's so just, you know, his experience, which is also our experience. It's like a cleaned up version of Larry David. It's like, oh no, it's like he's thinking what we're all thinking, but you know, is it just the Semitic fucking angry Jewish version of it, which you know, a few years ago was very popular. Not right now though, but all right, moving on. 52 Girls. Most people can't understand the lyrics. It's got a bunch of girls' names of the era. The white era 50s names, kind of like the Animal House characters. I loved this song. I think it was a great second track. Thoughts on it?
It's so good. It's like could you ever come up with this concept? You know what I mean? Like we're gonna give all these names. Can you name them? We're gonna just give all these names. It's like,
Madge,
what are you
Mabel,
doing?
Yeah. It's like,
and just the way they have structured the melody with the names, it's just like, it's like nothing else. It's so funny, but it's also so catchy. It's so much fun to listen to. You would have to like actually sit down and really study to make sure you knew all the lyrics. You know what I mean? If you wanted to completely sing along to this song, you'd have to put some work in.
Yeah.
And it's so genius. Just the idea of like, this is a test for you. Can you name all 52 girls?
My sister, very smart, who's a doctor. She has a song that helped her learn the periodic table, and so she can go through every single thing, and it's like thulium and thallium and thallium and thallium and and it's a way. This is basically the same thing, but it's all just of my great aunt's names. It's like Mildred. Pauline, Gertie, and Blanche. It's all just
you don't need to know this at all. But but guess what? You might end up knowing this.
But it's 25 names is what I was reading. It was only 25, but the 52 relates to the name of the band. So
here's what's also exciting is that it's an exciting thing when your name is in a song, and this gives 25 people the opportunity to have a song with their name that they otherwise would not have. Right? Like there's a lot of names in this song that you're not going to find in any song outside of this one.
How do you think Mandy felt when Barry Manilow fucking dropped that hit? I mean, you know, I don't know many Mandys besides the woman in the song, and then the fucking Nicolas Cage movie, which rules, by the way. If you haven't seen it, I just watched it recently again.
I still have not seen Mandy.
Oh my God. Oh, dude, it's incredible. So speaking of 52 Girls, because we were trying to think of a you know, we have like so many fond like memories out there, and I think there's like with the comedy community, much like in this song, there's like years later there was so much like intermingling like in high school. So you find out years later a lot of comics dated since they're all from the same world. I mean, I remember when I first started out, like I had crushes on different comics. I dated a couple. Who was in like your dating pool? And much like Tom Kenny and his wife, like even if you didn't date any, like who was your comedy crushes when you were starting out?
Oh my God. When I was starting out, it was still like you know what? Back in those days, Margaret Smith would have been one, that I thought was the fucking coolest, because she was really deadpan, but she was also she had like a very classical beauty to her. Like she looked like somebody from an old movie. And I remember thinking she was really cool. And then later, Janine Garofalo was a big one. And I think a lot of guys my age thought she was just like, there was a, she was very attractive, but also the confidence that she projected just walking out there. I do my thing. I make it sound like I'm just making it up. I just come in here and talk, was like, it was the hottest thing. It was the most compelling and attractive thing.
Yeah, she still is gorgeous and still the coolest. Like she comes to the stand here in New York all the time, and she's the sweetest and just
fucking big influence. I will say it forever. Like she absolutely helped me do the kind of comedy that I wanted to do, because I could see her do it. I could see her talking in a way that was not brick wall, behind me, blah, 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 blah. This is the rhythm of comedy. It was like, oh, wow, you can, it's like, this is what I've always wanted to do. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know it was possible to do. And now here's somebody that's so projecting like an effortless kind of funniness that I strove for. And to be honest, I'm still striving for, but she was, so many people owe so much to her, and I still don't think she gets enough credit.
I don't think so either. I don't think
she gets enough credit.
I completely agree
for modern comedy. Yeah.
And it's like, I see it too, because, she kind of like pulled back from the limelight in a sense, and like really didn't start, she had such a huge career in the 90s and the 2000s, and then really just like pulled back. And now it's like, she's doing her spots, she does her touring, but it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, she goes on stage, and some of the younger people that maybe go to like NYU, or they're filling out the comedy clubs here in New York, like they don't even, because it's just so crazy, the disconnect where it's like, for us, she was like, oh my God, that's Janine Garofalo. And for other people, they're like, oh yeah, she's funny, but like they never saw Reality Bites. Like they didn't see a lot of the shit that she had done and how important she was to the comics like us, where we're like, oh my God, that's fucking Janine. And she's, still just razor sharp. When you said confident, though, I'll tell you this, I do that show, The Goddamn Comedy Jam, where comedians just stand up and then they sing. And we had her do it in Austin, and she picked this Monkey song, and dude, she had such a panic attack like doing it that she like curled up, and it was a very like deep cut for the Monkeys. Like we should have been like, you should do Daydream Believer, like please. It was something deep. But she like curled up in a ball, and there's a picture of me like her like afraid, like, and I'm hugging her and I'm singing it and I don't know the fucking words. So she's human. What does that,
What was it?
I forget. Oh man, I can find it. I'll find it and I'll DM it to you, because it's wild. It's a deep cut, dude. But completely agree with you. Like, so she's so fucking rad. All right, what are we moving on to? Okay, here we go. Dance This Mess Around. It's a nostalgia trip. I love that she says, I'm not no Limburger. It's very Leslie Gore. It's my party. I'll cry if I want to. She's talking about all these jilted girl songs from the 50s. And then Fred comes in and they go to a party, and then they start naming these weird dances, which is such a great like interplay with the call and the response. And God knows if any of these dances are fucking real. You know what I mean? Like
the Shukaloo? Like you're not sure if the Shukaloo is real?
No, dude. What about the
shy
dog? It's like I'm still trying to figure out how to make my backbone slip. It's the land of 1,000 dances, but their style, and I love that. It's nostalgic and weird, and it feels like it's coming out of improv, which I love.
And it feels like what I like. Another thing with them is making it feel like it's from. They exist in an alternate universe.
Yes.
Where these dances are real dances. They have slid into our dimension. While they're here, they're going to sing a song and then they're going to slide back out again. And, they're just the way that they're listing these dances, like they're real, and everybody, the call and response is also like, oh, of course. And then there's this one. Oh yeah, of course. And then there's this one, like we all know these, there's somehow the call and response cements it as a real thing. And then the fact that she's so furious, like, who the fuck are you to not dance with me?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's so good. It's
Jeremiah,
so good.
while I was prepping him on asking this question, will you look up and see if there's a YouTube video on how to do the cuckoo? Because I'd love to know. I'd love to actually see if this is real.
The
And
hypocrite.
Oh, you doing the jaundice? What is that? He's getting all yellow and it's crazy, dude. I love that. I love that when we were talking about this, and he said, Morty said that this comes out and sounds like improv. And you know, your world of improv, we've talked with so many comics that have come from the UCB groundlings. When someone, you know, can do improv, it's you know, it's not just this beautiful thing that I don't think people even realize just how difficult and how many years and how much listening and communication you have to go through to figure that out, where you can take something, Paul, that is such a mess and turn it into something really special. So like, how much of your comedy, like, does that come from improv? Like when you're, you know, like explain it.
I think with stand up, with any kind of stand up, listening is so important because you are monitoring the room. You are reading the vibe of the people. You have an ear out for every sound, every, you know, somebody turns away at some point. Like you are clocking everything that's going on in the room while you're still doing your material.
Sure.
And so I came to improv after I'd done stand up for a million years. And I think that is what helped me get up to speed on doing improv.
Wow.
So that it was a little easier for me. Like my improv training essentially was, you know, decades of stand up and then doing character improv in podcasts. And so after I'd done that for a while, then I was like, okay, now I feel like I can try to go on stage and see how I do, like knowing that I could fail miserably, because taking a mess and making it something beautiful is a big part of improv, but so is taking something beautiful and making it a mess, because you can come in there and you can think this is a great idea and it fucking derails everything.
Sure.
That's how it goes. But the thing for me was, it taught me as a perfectionist how to let go and how to say, like, you know what? It's not the end of the world that this didn't work out. You move on, you brush it off, and you move on, you try again. And so for me, a thing in stand-up that I still struggle with is, and it's harder today than it ever has been, is people fucking making noises, people doing dumb shit in the audience. And now we're at this place where people are wooing and cheering for nothing, and it drives me fucking crazy. And I have to let it go. I have to let it go. But it takes such an effort for me to pretend that noise didn't just happen.
I know.
Because it's not important. And I have to say, don't acknowledge that. Don't acknowledge that. It doesn't matter. Just go on with the thing that you're going to talk about. Pretend that they didn't just cheer for a building. You know what I mean? Like that kind of shit I have to let go. So there's the push and pull of, I have to be present and be aware of everything that's going on. But I also have to choose the moment where I'm going to say, that's not important, discard it, disregard it, move on, you know? So improv in that sense is focusing on what is important to listen to. So it's not just, you can't just be an open, receiver. You have to narrow the signal a little bit for yourself so that you're not getting caught up in dumb shit you don't need to get caught up in. And that's like an ongoing, like I always say, I'm proud to admit I'm not done learning yet. I'm still, like, my journey as an artist is ever evolving. The moment I say to myself, oh, I feel like I got to figure it out, then I'm done. I got to hang it up, because I don't want to stagnate. I don't want to just be staying in one place and say, I got my formula and now I just rewrite my formula. You know, there are comics that do that masterfully, but I know I'm not one of those people, because I get I get annoyed by what I call the tyranny of the template, because you get something you feel like, oh, this works great. I just have to like refill this template every once in a while. And that works good for a while, but you can get very bored of that and say, I'm not liking what I'm doing anymore. And it's easy to forget that you are in charge of what you do.
Yeah.
And but it's a very, to me, it always catches me by surprise. Like, why do I feel like so frustrated and annoyed with what I'm doing? And then it takes me like a few days to realize, like, well, you're in charge of that and you can change it up,
Totally.
And then I can say, okay, I'm going to move on from that and try something different, challenge myself. I never want to stop being afraid. I never want to stop being nervous about trying a new thing. I never want to stop putting myself in those situations where I'm challenging myself and facing failure, because that's where you do the most learning. And that is also where your most creative things come from, is being afraid and just jumping in.
Oh, I said that a million times. If I'm doing something with an audience member and I'm trying to get them to participate, I'm like, dude, this is a big moment for you. I know how nervous you are, but if you just try, you don't have to be great, but if you try, dude, the confidence you will get from this. The crowd wants you to win. Everybody's supporting you.
Yes.
Like, never run. If you're, it's just, two things, guy. When I was hearing that, you were talking about the evolving of a comedian, because you can still have your voice, but your material, like Bill Burr. I mean, he was so angry and against women at the beginning, and now he's a dad and he's completely changed. I mean, he's still the old Bill.
Absolutely.
But now he's evolved, and it's the same shit with what we talk about here on the podcast with so many records. It's like, if you're doing the same record over and over, people are good. As the times are changing, people are just going to drop it. It's the bands, the Radioheads, the Beatles, the Miles Davis, those great artists that are like, you know what, that was great, but I'm onto this thing now, and I think this is where it's at, and we don't know. Like, dude, can you imagine like how fucking scared the record label was when Radiohead was like, here's Kid A, and they're like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is insane. And then King of Limbs, it's like, it's just that's the only way as an artist that you really fulfill what you're trying to do as an artist, is create, but constantly just moving the needle forward. And I think that's what's so beautiful about improv, is that, like, you can be one way at the beginning, and then you see somebody just start getting it and they're listening. And it's like, and just the idea, the positivity of the statement, like, of yes, and it's such a beautiful thing than saying no, but, and like, it's so, it just puts like such a period on it with yes, and it's like, there's so much growth. And
absolutely.
It really is. It really is. It's like, I took an improv class, and it was just, even in conversation, it helped me.
Absolutely.
It changed
for
me as a
sure.
person.
There's so much there for everybody, and it's a great, even just people that would never do this in a million years, to take a class or something and to try it out. It can't help but open up things in your mind and in your heart. It's a really it can be a really amazing thing.
It really is. You got the cuckoo, Jerry. I saw you try to put it on.
I do.
While he was deep in convo, I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Distracting him.
Making this great point, and you got these Scandinavian people's doing the cuckoo. Look at these dildos. All right, there you go. This is it.
My cuckoo line dance.
What the? This is real.
It's like Japanese or something.
Oh, this is like my mom dancing at a bar mitzvah. It really is. All right. Well, what's funny is I'd spelled with a C. I had spelled it. How did I spell it? I spelled it. Oh, kook, KOOKACHU. Well, I was close on the last three.
I like that spelling.
It's not wrong. There's somebody.
Not wrong. It's not wrong.
Else about it like that. All right, the big one, Rock Lobster, dude.
Man.
7 minutes of just pure heaven, pure beach party ethos. It's Frankie and Annette. It's everything. It's Gidget. It's so of the era. It takes you right back, because I never really dug into that shit. I think the first one they did that Back to the Beach, and that was like and I only think I saw that because Paul Rubens was in it, and I was like, oh my god, like anything Pee Wee is in, I'm obsessed with. But this song is so great because it takes you right to where all that stuff happened, and it's all about this mythical rock lobster. And this is the cool thing that we found out about this, or at least Morty had told me, is that John and Yoko heard an early recording, I think the first version of this, and they loved it so much and were so inspired that it's what John used, and it made him like, it decided for him to go back into making music. And then you get his last record from this because he was so inspired from hearing this.
Wow.
Which is great. And it's, you know, it's like I said, it's everything that I think the B-52s represent, this whole record, even the stuff later in life. It's like you can see how it all comes from this song.
Yeah.
You know,
and I'm like the John Lennon story. That's part of what artistry is too, is being open to styles other than your own, other than the music of your era, because there's a lot of people that are like, you know, in my day we wrote songs like this, and this is what a song is, you know. But to be aging, to be moving forward in time and listening to contemporary things and saying, this has value to me, I am inspired by this, like that's not everybody, and that's a huge thing. And I think that really is a separation of people who are true artists from people who are just, you know, this is, you know, I do my thing and that's it. You know, I like things that sound like the way I sound, full stop, you know. This song it's so wild that this song even exists. It's 7 minutes long. It has this crazy dramatic progression as it goes on. By the end, when he screams, "Let's rock," and they're hitting that guitar, it is like, I get chills like talking about it. It's so exciting. This song is so exciting. It starts out like a weird, funny, you know, kind of thing. And as it goes on, you're like, God damn, I'm into this. This is like, this is an exciting moment, you know,
and it's scary. It really is. It could be like, it's like an Ed Wood, like horror movie, like sci-fi thing with that. It's more like, it's like a post-punk psycho theme or something. But it's about a fucking lobster, which I'm more of a crab man myself, but I mean, you know, that's the Maryland in me.
Maryland.
What would be, what more, do you have something to add?
I was going to say one thing that I think, because we talked about Yoko Ono's influence, I think a big thing with John, because, you know, John obviously had deference to Yoko, was the fact that when you listen to the later part of the song where they're naming the fish and they're doing all the vocalizing, I think he thought also, besides his own music, that the world had finally figured out Yoko Ono. I think he saw that the fact that they were so sort of influenced by her vocalizations, that when you hear it in the song, they're like, oh, now you guys get what I was telling you about Yoko.
You see, guys, I told you, Yoko's ahead of her time, man. She really is. She's not annoying, I swear. Listen to Rock Lobster, man. I promise you.
It's funny because I never made that connection, but of course it's obvious now.
It's for sure.
Hearing about it, and that moment too is like such a. It's a moment that I think you could easily dismiss as silly, but the noises they're making they're wild. And some of them are really kind of unsettling and spooky. And it's just that kind of unbridled creativity of, we're going to do this. We're going to switch off. You know, you're going to, and instantly like, okay, what do these fish sound like? What did this, you know, we're going to provide a noise for each of these. This is what this animal sounds like. Yeah. And I love it so much. I love it so much because it never reads to me as fun, but not silly and not just like we're goofing around. It's like
Yeah.
I feel like they're having fun, but they're serious about it. Like we're making these noises for real. We're not.
It must have been so fun to record this too. Just them in
Oh,
the
yeah.
studio, like
I
really
always
like
think about that. Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah.
now do it differently. Go higher.
Yeah.
And the question I have, I feel like we already answered. You answered earlier. So because I was going to say, what is your rock lobster? But I kind of want to move on to lava because for time issues, I really like the next three questions. We're finally getting into the Mr. Show shit that I really want to ask about. But really, this next one, and I feel like you're going to like this connection of how we do this. All right. So the next song is Lava. So I'm just before you tell me your thoughts on it, and then I'll do my spiel. Like, what do you think about Lava? Because I love this song. I really dug Lava.
I love it too, and I think it's one of the only songs on this album that you could consider even like a filler track. You know what I mean? But it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And just the shit. Like, I'm gonna go jump in a crater. See you later. Like. It's so much fun. Like this is them. If this is them doing a filler track, it's fucking great. It's still so much fun. It's still them.
It's on brand. Yeah.
It's still so catchy, and the girls sound great. It's a ball. Like there's not one song on this album that I would not gladly listen to. This is probably my least favorite, and I still really love it.
This is definitely a no skip record. I don't think there was anything on this
100%.
that I got tired of. And I don't say that a lot because even if like a hit, I'll be like, all right, let me move on. And Rock Lobster is the song I heard the most, but I still like once you get into it, you're there.
You gotta hear the whole thing.
Gotta hear it. So this is see where I'm gonna spin this. I'm gonna try to see where I make this connection. So we all know this comes from volcanoes, they get hot, they explode from the earth. You worked with one of the most passionate, explosive actors who is a volcano in his most volcanic performance. There Will Be Blood. What was that like? Because I've seen the joke.
Swear to God, they're going to talk about Bob Odenkirk.
I'm getting
because when you say Mr. Show and explosive, I think of Bob.
Sure. Which is really out of everybody you think of Bob. I just met him because he did the play with Bill, and so I got to spend time with him, and we're trying to get him on because we had David Cross on to do the replacements.
Great.
And Bob is supposedly even a bigger Replacements fan. So I didn't pitch it, but I definitely was like, David came on and did I think he did Let It Be. And I was like, we got Tim coming up. And he was like, okay, great. Yeah. And then he moved on. I was like, okay, well, I won't push it. No, but dude, we'll get to the Mr. Show shit. That's in hero worship because that's a question for me. Right. No, but with Lava, your joke is so great about talking about working with Daniel Day-Lewis. Like, what was that like? Because the next question is about getting in with PT, but it's like, working with a guy that is, arguably the greatest actor that might have ever lived in a performance that, I mean, it's like Jared, if you haven't watched There Will Be Blood in a while, rewatch that. And I mean, even watch Gangs of New York just as like a setup to that to see where it's like you almost see a little piece of that in this, and yet it builds and builds and builds. He is the biggest, just the hardest character in anything I've ever seen. So what was that like? And I know it's such a small scene, but it's definitely one of the most important scenes of the movie.
Small scene in a long day, which is the story of movie making,
Sure.
But remains maybe the most surreal moment of my life. To be on that set at all was really strange. But to be given that opportunity, which was such a generous and sweet thing from Paul Thomas Anderson, because I was in the movie Magnolia. I had a similarly tiny role, but I was cut out for every good reason. You could still hear my voice on the phone, but you didn't need to see my guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he said, I'll make it up to you, and I didn't think anything of that. And then years go by and he puts me in this movie and gives me this very brief but extremely fun and strange experience, to be directing lines to Daniel Day-Lewis and have him turn around and yell at me was extremely exciting, and also to be on a set like that and just watch how things are done and, get to see him working in that way with that actor was, what a privilege and what a gift that was to just be able to witness that, was, I'm forever grateful for that. And it will forever be, a huge, exciting thing that happened in my life. And also the weirdest day I've ever had.
Oh, your joke about it is just so great. He's the most intense guy.
And truly, like it was, it was never off-putting. It was just that you kind of knew, like, this is this guy's thing, this is who he is. And this is his process. I am one who certainly will hear stories of people in their process. And a lot of times it makes me roll my fucking eyes, but he did not do it in a way that was it did not interfere in anyone else doing their job. You know what I mean?
Really?
Like he, and that's all you can ask for. Like if you have an intense process and you feel it's necessary for what you do, that's one thing, but making it somebody else's problem, I think, is when it gets into, you know what? Fuck you, dude. you don't need to do all that. You know what I mean?
It's like Jared Leto sending like bullets to the cast in Dead Rats when he's playing the Joker. You're like, dude, you didn't need to do that. Like, it's like the fucking actor, dude.
You're doing something to them. You know what I mean? That's nothing to do with your process.
Did he break? Was he in character the whole time? Like, or did he ever?
He was like half in, half out of it. Like he kept the voice, but he could talk about things that were outside of the world, but he would kind of stay in the voice and he would stay very measured and everything. He was not like, garrulous, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the only time I saw him break, because I was there with, Flanagan, who is the owner of Largo in Los Angeles and a friend of Paul Thomas Anderson's. And so he and I were there together. And Flanagan is Irish. She's from Northern Ireland. And the only time I saw Daniel Day-Lewis break character completely and talk in his own voice was talking with Flanagan. I just overheard a little bit of their conversation and he was very animated talking about how big Irish money used to be. Like the bills used to be like these huge, banknotes. And he's talking very excited, like they used to be, just these gigantic notes. Like that was the only time I saw him break character the whole day. That was it.
I was hoping you were going to say he would like leaned over and went, I used to have a Mike Schmidt rookie card. And you're like, oh, wait, really? Like, how did you get that from?
Well, that would have been, I would have left show business after that. You know what I
mean? but also, and the next song too, which we were, is There's a Moon in the Sky and Earth is, my question was also like, how did you link up with Paul Thomas Anderson? I might as well just lump these in together. Like how did that connection? Because I mean, arguably, and going off of like There Will Be Blood as well, which by the way, it's like your reaction when he says, I wouldn't accept it if you gave it to me as a gift. It's like, it's just so great. And I mean, to not be intimidated and you really, dude, you hold your own in the scene, which even, I know that's like, I mean, that is the most compliment.
No, I take it that way. Thank you very much.
Literally performing with fucking Brando, with fucking, Henry Fonda, like just Henry, all the greats. Like he's arguably one of the greatest actors to ever do it.
For sure.
And in probably his most iconic role. I don't give a fuck. My Left Foot, fucking Lincoln. No, There Will Be Blood is one of the greatest movies ever made. It's Paul Thomas Anderson's masterpiece next to Boogie Nights. Because I think Boogie Nights, you got the touch. Just that part alone, you got me. I think I just shared
That's in my head so much. That's in my fucking head so much.
Instant earworm.
Oh, God.
Just,
But yeah, I mean, at doing that and realizing like, okay, this is a very brief amount of acting that I'm about to do, but I am going to, without apology, do my best for Mr. Daniel Day-Lewis as a scene partner and say, you know, if it matters at all, I'm going to try my hardest. You probably don't need anything from me, but I'm going to give you whatever I have. You know?
I bet he loved it. I bet he loved it. I bet, like, I mean, even just because he knows that he probably intimidates people, especially you know when he's dealing with like DiCaprio or a guy that's like used to like like. But when you know it's like in these other parts, he still has to interact with them. And I mean, he doesn't seem like a mean person. He actually seems like probably like every interview, he's like the sweetest guy ever.
Yeah.
You know, but has that intensity of someone that has lived many lives and really actually has.
I mean, it's so, like he's doing a character like that and he becomes that guy, you know, as cliche as that sounds, it's like, this has to be a person that feels this way to other people in order for it to project onto the screen. And that's, I mean, that's the thing about film acting that is so amazing to me is it's harder than people think that it is. I think it helps if you come from the theater because you have to embody that so that people really feel it, especially in the theater where there's a million distractions. You're seeing the audience around you. You're seeing the exit signs. You know what I mean? Like in order to be transported onto just that square, you have to be so good and you have to be so committed to doing it that you have to bring the audience onto the stage with you and they forget about all these other things. And using that to then do it onto film, which is, you know, that the camera is going to be right in your fucking face. You're going to be so big. Then you have to bring it down. It's like, the skill to do that is enormous. You have to have enormous skill to do all of those things. And so, you know, to have somebody like that in front of you in real life when, you know, now you can't be distracted. Now you have to be in it too, because you can see the cameras, you can see the lights, you can see all the people standing around, you know, and all that shit. You know, you have to try your best. If he's gonna do that, you have to do whatever. You got to take it up to your max as well.
Yeah, dude.
Even though nobody's gonna be like, "How did you do that?" You know,
we did. We're asked that. I love.
You still. I mean, the story of that movie and Paul Dano playing Eli is that there was another actor originally cast who he psyched himself out of working with Daniel Day-Lewis. He couldn't, it was too much for him. And that's how, and so it was like on short notice, Paul Dano was like, okay, I guess I'm this guy now. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And it's like,
good job.
It's heartbreaking that any actor would be given that opportunity and then be too freaked out to do it is so sad to me. It's so sad, you know? So I feel bad for that dude.
Yeah. You know, there's another that's not the same thing, but it's like that guy, James Remar, I think his name. He was supposed to play the Hicks character in Aliens, but he's in it for like a split second, but then he got busted for like buying heroin and then got kicked off the set, the James Cameron Alien movie, and then they filled it in with Michael Biehn. And it's like he got sober years later, and it's like just looking back at it, it's not the same, but it's like, you know, to be a part of such an iconic film like Aliens, which is my favorite movie of all time, and then something like There Will Be Blood of just being intimidated. I mean, dude, it's self-sabotage. As an artist, I've done it a million times where you're just like,
of course,
I shouldn't be here. Like, oh, why am I on this lineup? Yeah. So I feel like
it's your responsibility, not just as an artist, but as a human being to exist with other human beings, I think, is to manage your mental health and make sure that you are taking care of yourself in that way, because, you know, it's all we have is other people. You know what I mean? That's all there are is people. And we got, especially like the way things are now, it's like, we got to fucking stick together and we got to take care of ourselves and we got to take care of each other. But you really do have to take care of yourself. You really do have to manage your own brain and emotions, and make sure that you're in good health, because it is, although it's a marathon, not a sprint, it sure does feel like a fucking sprint a lot
It really
of the time.
does. Oh my God, you can't say that
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
How did you link up with PT Anderson though? Like I remember I
From
mentioned
Largo. Back in
Really?
the old days of the original Largo, which was a tiny little club on Fairfax Avenue in Los Angeles. I mean, small. And they would do John Bryan, who's a singer-songwriter and a composer for a lot of great stuff, PTA stuff included. He would do shows there every Friday night. And John's thing was he was a multi-instrumentalist. He could play anything. His capacity to remember songs is infinite. In addition to his own music, in addition to just making up shit on the spot, he could also remember anything, any fucking song. And so he would play, he would do a lot of covers, and then he would do covers in different styles. He would take suggestions from the audience. And, so I was a regular there every Friday night, and PTA was as well. Because he was dating Fiona at the time, Fiona Apple. She was playing there a lot. She was playing with John a lot.
Oh,
She would get up and sing with him sometimes. So like there was a group of us that were all there every Friday without fail. And it became like a little family. And so Paul would sprinkle us into his movies. So it was me and Patton Oswalt, Mary Lynn Rice Cub, Karen Kilgariff, like all these people that he knew from hanging out and seeing us on stage on those Friday nights. He just, for fun, like would stick us in these weird little roles here and there. And it was a very exciting time. Like people were figuring out a lot of stuff creatively. People were actively evolving in that space. Like Largo is responsible for a lot of us being given the room and the time to figure out what we wanted to do next, and to see other artists like be influenced by musicians, and musicians being influenced by comedians. Like we were very much cross-pollinating a lot, doing each other's shows. And it was an extremely exciting and vibrant time in my life, that even though at the time I was a fucking mess. Personally, I was the biggest mess I'd ever been, but on the cusp of figuring things out. So it was part of leading to me like going to therapy for the first time and understanding myself better and becoming a better artist because of that. Like I think a lot of us, there's an age old, very, very an old wives' tale that if you start to become healthy mentally, it will damage you as an artist. It will take away the special thing about you. And it's like, no, it's only gonna work better because you're gonna understand yourself better. You're gonna understand your demons. That shit's, by the way, never gonna go away entirely.
Sure.
If that's what you're worried about, don't worry. You will still have plenty of insecurities, plenty of self-doubt. You're going to have plenty of demons. You're just going to deal with them in a different way, but you're still going to be you, just a better version of you that enjoys life more, which is never going to, being aware of how precious life is never going to diminish your artistic capacity. It's only going to improve it.
Well said. Well said. And man, that like Largo, I've done it a few times. I've seen so many incredible shows there. And all of those people that you mentioned have either been on the podcast. Karen is a very close friend of mine. Mary Lynn. It's just that group. And especially when everybody is like young and just the ideas and all doing cool shit. Like that must have been, you must have had so many moments where you like looked around and were like, I can't believe I'm in this circle with these people.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm glad that I'm glad that I, as as many personal problems as I had, I never took it for granted. I always realized like, this is a special thing. This is very exciting. We were all fans of each other, even though like somebody would get something, you'd be happy for them. You might feel a little sad for yourself. Why didn't I get that thing? But you never were like, I never resented anybody's success. I never I never felt like that should have been me. I was like, well, of course that's you, because you're great.
Yeah.
We were very supportive. And it was such an exciting time. It was such an exciting time.
All right. Hero worship, because this is the Mr. Show question, which we've been waiting for the whole time. Thoughts on the song before we get into it, because I mean, I have nothing about it because I'm more excited about the question, but your thoughts on hero worship?
I cannot picture this song in my mind now that we're talking about it. I don't remember how it goes. I forgot. I completely forgot.
It's probably like heroes and worshiping guests, and then we're worshiping heroes, and there's heroes there. Let me see if I got a little spiel on it. The song starts with the line "Heroes falling to the ground," followed by Hell's Magnet pulling Wilson down to her knees to try to please his idol's eyes. Morty, do you want to add anything, you guys? Because I can just read this shit. You want to pop in? And
I want you to get to the Mr. Show question. I had one, but I had one beat that will make this is prolonging the agony and the ecstasy. The one question I have. So we were at the Kibitz Room at Tuesdays across from Largo. I came up with John. I came up with Paul Anderson since the 80s. And he used to stick me in movies, like in short films. But I have to ask, first of all, did you wear your street clothes on There Will Be Blood? Because you have an Algonquin round table look that I was like, you're like the Alexander Woollcott or the Robert Benchley of the comedy, of the alternative comedy scene, where everybody else had sung. Now I can wear, you have this quality where if I were to say, Paul Tompkins, he's the guy that dresses up for his performances, but like a Leon Redbone sort of iconoclastic, anachronistic vibe. I just want to know where that came from, because that's how I would say, like, you are a throwback to an era of sort of a debonair, like a gentleman quality in your performance. And now I will Harvey Korman myself.
But also, and adding what Morty's saying, he's 100% right. It's like it's like almost like Sebastian, where Sebastian treats the audience. He dresses up, and it's almost like he's making it. He's like, no, these people spent money. They're coming out. I take this seriously. Like, how did that start?
I've always loved clothes. I've always loved dressing up. And I came from, when I started stand up, it was still the era where you would dress up for like the weekend show. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because you're getting paid more, and it's a night out and all this shit. And comedians wore suits on TV. So when I would watch the Tonight Show or Letterman or Conan or whatever, comics still dressed up to go on TV. So it was that's what I knew. And so by the time that started to relax, I was like, I still like dressing up. I still like, it's fun so for me. Like, I like putting on a suit and tie. Like, it's fun. So that just remained my aesthetic. And then as I got older, I started to have more fun with it. It's like, well, I don't want to look like I work in an office. I want to look like, like I'm in showbiz. And so I started to find more, fun stuff and be a little more daring with my look and everything. And it's still like, I still enjoy it so much. I love getting suited up for a show and TV and shit like that. It's still really fun for me.
There's something about putting on a suit. So to add to that is I bought a comedian got married in December of 2019. And I bought my first nice suit. I bought a John Varvatos, $2,500, black. I got the white shirt, very Reservoir Dogs. I got like some really fresh Chucks, because I'm like, I'm still going to keep it rock and roll. And I wore it to the wedding, and everybody loved it. And I was so happy. And then the world shut down, and it just sat in my closet. And in the thick of the pandemic, I was like, I'm putting on my suit and I'm going to Gelson's. And I fucking put on the suit. And I put my mask on, and everybody, that was back when you had to wait outside and they'd only let a certain amount in. And everybody's wearing their COVID comfies, and I'm dressed. And I'm dressed in my fucking suit. Like, I got a place to go. And I'm like, yeah, man, I didn't mention it. But it just feels so great to, like, when you look good and you feel good. It's like when you look out on the outside, I always say to people, it's like, dude, if you're depressed, go to the gym, work out. Because even if you're outside, if you make your inside can match your outside, even if it's like, if you might not feel it on the inside, just put out that image, and it's like, even if you're lying to yourself, your brain will trick it and you'll go, no, it's like, I feel good. And especially with stand-up, when you go up there wearing something that you look good in, you're confident in, like it affects your performance. Because when you're wearing,
absolutely,
dude, I remember one time I wore like a flannel that I wasn't too like sold on, and I bombed. And my buddy who ran the show goes, "What the fuck, dude?" I go, "It was the flannel, dude. I'm sorry."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you go on stage wearing an iffy thing, all you can picture, you're just picturing yourself in that thing, and as the audience, you automatically shift to audience POV. It's wild.
It really is. He never forgives me. He's like, never wear that flannel again. I'm like, it's gone. All right. Hero worship. We've been waiting, to ask you this is, how did that come about being with Mr. Show? Like, I mean, I'm assuming it's just being in LA and being around everybody, but tell me about the first meeting of you with Bob and David.
Oh man. So I'd already been a fan of theirs. I was a fan of Bob's first from when I still lived in Philly, like seeing him on the A-List. Remember the A-List on Comedy Central?
That's a deep cut, dude.
Yeah. So and then seeing him on the Ben Stiller show, I just thought he was hilarious. And then seeing them do stuff together, like pre Mr. Show, this was the stuff that led to Mr. Show, was they would put on these sketch shows, and we would all go see them. They would be at these dingy little places, and everybody in the community. It was a very exciting time because a bunch of us got to LA around the same time. So there were people coming down from San Francisco, a bunch of people from Chicago, some people from New York. I was like one of the only people from Philly. Like nobody that I kind of came up with was here. And so I was lucky enough to get here at the time that I did, to meet all these people and get accepted into this group. So we all hung out all the time. We were all doing shows together. We were putting on sketch shows. We were putting on all this stuff, and we would always go see whatever Bob and David were doing. And it was thrilling, like, to watch them. It was like, these guys are doing it right now. Like, they are the next step in sketch. There's generationally, there's like a show for everybody, and they were clearly going to be the next thing, like very close on the heels of like Kids in the Hall,
Yeah.
And like, to have those two things happening so close to each other was wild. Like, especially for a comedy fan, for somebody who devoured comedy, that it was religion, to have the kids and then Mr. Show so soon after it was like unprecedented, I was hugely a fan of theirs. And then I was doing sketch stuff with another guy who'd gotten to LA from Chicago. A mutual friend introduced us to each other. That was how we got the attention of Bob and David. And then we got hired on the second season to write. And obviously that was life-changing. That was the last day job I had before that job was the last day job I ever had. And it was profoundly impactful, not just on my life, but on my comedy, on the way I understood comedy, wrote it, how to make a sketch, how to, like, the same lessons that I learned from them are the lessons that I use to this day, of how to be, how to heighten things, how to be concise, although I could always be more concise in my sketch writing. But how to figure out what is the point of this sketch, what is the thrust of it, and how to end a sketch. How to end a sketch still remains the biggest challenge of, I think, any sketch writer. How to have a satisfying ending to a sketch is the hardest fucking thing. You start it, you heighten it, you have fun, we're having a great time. Now what? Now we have to kill the fun. How do we do that in a way that doesn't feel like, okay, is still the biggest challenge. I mean, hats off to Tim Robinson with I Think You Should Leave, who is like, oh yeah, just stop the sketch. Just go on to a You just stop the sketch, have fun. When you're tired of having fun, just stop it. Don't worry about a resolution. Just move on to the next fun thing.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, man. I didn't know you could do that.
Breaking the
guys
rules,
would-
but we had David on who also talked about being inspired by what David Letterman in the transitions between sketches, which was so innovative, wasn't it, Mr. Show?
Oh, it was Python, because Python would always, they would lead from one sketch to another sketch. And the biggest headache, but also the most satisfying thing with writing Mr. Show was, how do we make the transitions not just a cop out, like, oh, and then we pull out, that's on the TV, and then whatever. It has to connect to that in some way. It has to lead into the next thing, but it also has to be its own satisfying little sketch all by itself. And that, of course, was the shit that took the most amount of time. And we would be there till late at night trying to figure out, how do we make this good on its own, but still bridge these two things.
Yeah. What was the
Yeah.
biggest fight you ever had for keeping that transition? Like, or like, this is it. And they're like, no, it's not. And you're like, I'm telling you, like,
I mean, there were so many of those. It would not be a single thing. And, cause that we would really get into it. I mean, it was always respectful.
sure.
Nobody was ever like, especially for me, who was a guy who, this was a big learning experience of, your way is not necessarily the right way, even though you see it so clearly. Your job then is to explain it to everybody else. Like, this is the right way. And if they don't see it, you got to fucking let it go, man. Like, you can only argue for so long, of my way is the right way. Here's how it is. If you give it a couple tries and people are still not on board, you have to let that go.
Yeah.
It's the same with pitching an idea, any idea.
Sure. No, 100%.
It's like, if you can't make it translate, then you have to just chalk it up to, I can't make this as funny to other people as it is in my head. Because the job of comedy, of creating comedy, is you are a translator. How do I get this to the audience in its purest possible form, to where it's still the same idea that I had, but now it's funny to other people outside of, the movie that I have in my head. That's what the job is. And so if you're talking to other comedy people and you can't do that, you let that idea go. You can be pissed about it, and you could be like, these guys are dumb. My idea was great, but you can't hold on to it. You got to move on. And you have to also, talk about what we talked about with listening earlier. You have to be so open, because your job now is to help other people's idea. If your idea was beyond repair, you have to be as open as possible to somebody else's idea to get it to where it's like, guys, we did it. We figured out, the puzzle. We solved it. And what it took was this person saying that, this person building on that, or this person saying, what if instead of this idea, we tweak it to where it's this idea, but then it's more like this, like all that kind of shit. That's what you're supposed to do as a functioning writer's room. And, so when we would have discussions or even minor arguments about this stuff, we knew it was all in the service of the one idea. It was all in the service of making this good. And that was the thing that I'm really proud of about that writer's room. I'm really proud to have been a part of it. And I'm really proud to have been able to have participated in that way of saying, we all want this to be good. This is not about us getting our individual ideas in there. It's all about saying, how can we make this as good as possible? And, and sometimes that was harder than other times. Sometimes you'd hit it right away, and that was exciting. Sure. But other times it was like, man, we just don't have it yet. And I heard, like, I left the show as a writer after the third season. And then I heard in the fourth season, it got a little, I think everybody kind of knew this is the last season. And so it got, the rules like loosened a little bit on what constituted a good transition from one scene to the next.
Oh, he said that. Yeah. He would be like, well, how do we do it? Just zoom in. Like you said, zoom in on the television, pull out. Yeah. But to the watcher, like, it never felt like that. It always felt fresh. It always felt.
This is the thing, is that nobody would have blamed us.
Ever.
Nobody would have blamed us. There never would have been anybody that said, I don't know, that was kind of cheap. Nobody cared except us. But that's of course what makes it good. You know?
Exactly. And that's
Yeah.
why, and trust me, it showed in everything. What sketch are you most proud of writing or being in? Like, what is one that like almost like your swan song that you're like, it can never get better than this moment?
Man, I mean, it's funny because, you know, in the immediate wake of Mr. Show, when we were like, when that book came out and everything, that was like kind of the oral history of the show. It was very important to me to say, I wrote that line. I did that. I love that. And then with distance, it's like, it's like, did I contribute that much? I mean, I was there. I must have, you know, but, you know, the things that, I was very, proud of any contribution in the writer's room that moved things along.
Yeah.
Like my sketches, the sketches that I wrote, they're like, okay, there's none that I'm really that jazzed about. You know what I mean?
Really?
Like, yeah, I think they're funny, but I like other sketches more. You know, I like stuff that other people wrote. I mean, also with Bob and David, you were writing for them. You were trying to get as close to their style, their voice as possible. But then when they would take it and do their pass on it, you'd be like, oh, I wasn't even fucking close. Like, of course, this is what they sound like. Of course, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, that is the job. It's not like you're supposed to be able to perfectly mimic them. It's here's something that I am getting as close to possible as in your wheelhouse, in your world. And then if you can take it over the finish line with minimal effort, then I have done my job. You know, as long as you don't have to do like a page 1 rewrite of a sketch, then great. I have helped and I have contributed. So yeah, I don't, it's very, yeah, like when I'm asked a question like that, it's always hard because I'm thinking of every moment at the same time. It's very like Dr. Manhattan, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's hard.
Yeah.
I don't have like a single moment that jumps out. I will say that my favorite contribution that I had was in the sketch about East Coast, West Coast ventriloquist wars.
Yeah.
There's a moment where there's a character played by Karen Kilgariff who's the wife of one of these guys, and
I know what you're talking
she's
about.
she's gonna have a comment on all of this. And so it's written as, and this was my description was, you know, she's kind of this boozy, you know, lady. She's got a cigarette and a drink in her hand, and her only response is, "Oh, you men."
Yeah.
And so then when they originally cut it, they had a long silent lead up of her before she says, "Oh, you men," and then it cuts to something else. And I said, actually, I think it works better if, you know, it's the voiceover over her just standing there. Then she says, "Oh, you men," then a long pause where you realize she's not going to say anything else. And so and it worked 1,000% better. And that is my, if you want to say that is my proudest achievement, that is my proudest achievement.
I love
on Mr.
that.
Show.
I love it. I don't know why I keep thinking about the sketch of the lie detector test where you have the realization at the end. It's like, well, I was touched by my parents, which is why I'm a man.
What a breakthrough. That's one of the funnest sketches we ever did. Like just all of us asking Bob these questions that was such a ball. That sketch was so much fun to shoot.
It looks like,
and especially in front of an audience was great.
Yeah, I could imagine. But it also, that's what's so great about that sketch is it really seems like when you guys keep getting more and more excited about him going like, yes. And it's like, yeah. I mean, it really felt like but that's comedy. I mean, when the performers are having fun, then it translates to the audience, and especially to do that show in front of a live audience. I mean, the high of that must have just been to get that feedback right then and there. I mean, it's priceless. And then to be working with, I mean, everybody on that cast is just either gone on to do great stuff, but is also just, they were so perfect in their roles, whether it was
Yeah.
Mary or Karen or Tom, you, Bob, Brian. We're
Such a
narrowing it
tremendous
down.
group of people.
It
Yeah.
really
And
is.
I mean, it's funny because I think of that as a very emotionally fraught time for me because I'm hitting my 30s and I am, as previously established, emotionally a wreck. And I have so much anxiety. I have so much imposter syndrome, all this stuff that's going on. It was such a tense time, but it was also so much fun. We had such a good time. We laughed so much. And I like of course, like negative memories always like come to the fore first, but I am so glad that I can now remember all the times that I had just laughing and really being so grateful to be any small part of that on camera, on the live shows, was such it was such an amazing gift.
Yeah.
Truly.
How excited were you when they came back and they did the with what is it with what's called with Bob and Tom with Bob and David
Bob
or
and
just which is like, I mean, no one knew that was coming. I mean, did you have an idea or was it just like they just called you one day and they
I
were
couldn't believe it as it was happening. Like it was so strange that of all, we never felt like a reunion show kind of show. But yeah, man, it was fun to go back to it with now none of that baggage, and
I could imagine.
anytime it would start to come up, you're like, wait, I don't need to care about this. This is not, this does not factor into who I am as a person now. This is just like, it's like family shit, where it's like you start to become the person you were with your family, when you were growing up. And then you're like, oh wait, I don't have to be that person. I'm me now, many, many years have passed. And then it was fun to like do warm up for the live tapings again was such a strange thing, it was funny to see how like, oh, this is a moment where this would have bothered me for days and days and days that somebody said this. And now I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? And this is something that I would have thought like, oh, how come I don't get to do more of this? And now it's like, you know what? I'm kind of busy. I'm glad I'm not in this that much. I'm glad I get to be in it, but it's not like, it's not a thing that's causing me anxiety. Yeah, it was great. It was great to see everybody again. It was
lower,
it was great to be silly with everybody again. I mean, the end result was like, I feel like everybody gave it their best shot. I think it was as good as that was going to be. I don't think it was as good as the original show, but if it's the best you could ask for, I think, for a reunion show in a modern iteration of Mr. Show. It's hard with comedy, man. I mean, the world moves on, and the energy that you have and the viewpoint you have is not necessarily going to be the same, as you do when you're a little older and wiser, and the world has changed. And so is the approach that you have to comedy going to be, how do you manage your style, which has been your collective style, which has been kind of dormant for a long time? Now you have to evolve it very, very quickly for the world as it is now. And that's a tall order, And so there's a lot of funny stuff in there. I'm still very glad that I got to be a part of it. And, and I think it was for a lot of people, it was very, for fans, it was very meaningful to see everybody together again. And, so I'm really glad that it happened. I'm really glad that I got to be a part of it.
It was great. It was great. And I totally see what you're saying, but also it's like, that's the gift of getting older, is that you realize, you can really, especially all of you have had careers. It's not like this thing is everything and you need this to be successful. You guys, we can just have fun and enjoy just being together with one another.
Yeah,
and that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
And it showed in the sketches too. So,
good.
We have two more songs, but I feel like we'll just mention these and let's wrap this up. It's 60, 842. Morty, what do you want to say?
Tail of the tape. Just wanted to get for the Fleece Army playing at home. I think this almost completes your Mr. Show roster. I think Bob might be the only holdout. We've also had, I think, 5 from the state. We've had a bunch of SNL, and we've had nobody from Kids in the Hall. All right, I'll see you guys.
Not yet, not yet, but we will. We've actually had everybody from Saturday Night Live, including Eddie Murphy. All of them. Joe Piscopo was a weird episode, but no, we still listen. I know like Bob I've become friends with through his opener Sean, so he was just great, and having him on, man, was incredible. No, I'm sorry, we had David on. Bob is the holdout. And who else we've not had? There's a couple people, but it's like, what's great is that like through comedy I met Mary Lynn. Karen and I became really close from doing the podcast, and we used to go watch movies together. We saw the new Rambo movie together. Actually, the last movie before the pandemic, we saw this like terrible Will Forte vampire or ghost movie. So we like risked our lives to go to the ArcLight as the world was like, you shouldn't go outside, you shouldn't do anything. We're like, you want to go see this new Will Forte movie?
Surely
like,
for this.
we must. I mean, we saw Parasite. It's got to be the same as Parasite.
Let history be the judge.
but it's like, and for me and Jeremiah and so many of our friends, man, it's just like, doing this podcast is what I love about it, is that we get to sit down with these people and talk music and life. And so this is just a gift to us today for you to come on, man, and be such a cool guy. Like that makes it even that much sweeter. So we can't thank you enough for coming on. Let's do the final questions and let's get you out of here, buddy. What's your favorite song on this album?
I mean, I think it is Rock Lobster, and I think a second runner up is probably 52 Girls.
Now, I know we said this isn't a skip over record, but what song on here is probably your least favorite? I mean,
yes, Hero Worship. I can't remember what it sounds like.
Fuck it, dude. Fair. Fuck it. Cut it. We don't need it. Got us a Mr. Show.
You can bet I'm going to listen to it immediately after we're done recording.
My God, please, dude. Can you fuck to this record? I don't think so.
I wouldn't advise it.
Oh,
I wouldn't advise it. I think it would stir up unwanted things.
Yeah.
You don't want to have. You don't want to have that, because if it does, then the next time you have sex, it's over. That's all you're going to think of is whatever came up during that session.
Like, who is that cult leader from like the 1920s and 30s that used to wear like the pyramid on his head? And he was like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, he was like
Anton LaVey.
He might. No, that's
Edgar Casey, or was it?
Wait, pull it up. Pull up the guy, because he would fuck to this. Anton.
Aleister Crowley.
Yes, Aleister Crowley. He would
sure.
fuck to this. Aleister Crowley would fuck
100%. Put an old 78.
There's a moon in the sky. They call the moon.
You gotta hear the record like. And what would be your elevator pitch to get someone to listen to this album, Paul?
If you like Love Shack, this album knocks that song's dick in the dirt.
I just love that you thought about it. Yeah, that's good. And you it was like a laugh, and then you said it. Promote away, please, dude. Please, anything you want to promote? Are you on tour? Where can everybody find you?
Sure. I host a live variety show called Varietopia, which is a modern variety show. It's great comedy and music and other forms of entertainment all on one stage. It's my favorite thing to do. We are in the middle of a break on our tour. We're going back out in October. You can go to varietopia.com and get tickets. And we're going to be doing a live stream Sunday, July 13th from our home here at Lodroom in Los Angeles. Live stream. We've all been burned by live streams. This one's actually good. Multi-camera setup. Sound is pristine. You will feel like you're in the room. Go to varietopia.com.
Oh my God. And by the way, I'm going to throw it out here. I don't do this very often. We're doing the anniversary show of the goddamn Comedy Jam at the Comedy Store in it's probably going to be September, because I'm going to Europe most of August. But
how many years?
We've been doing it. It'll be 11 years we've been doing it.
Congratulations. I do sing.
Yeah, well then I'm gonna send you a DM. I would love for you to be on it. It'll probably be
Absolutely.
per you. We'll stay in touch. Paul, this was such a gift. It's one of those things that that you were talking about. It's like these are the moments that, you know, it's Bill said this, I quote him a lot, but it's like when you follow your dreams, cool shit happens. And to be able to sit down and know that, you know, 20 some odd years ago when me and him were watching, we had the VHS of Mr. Show. We ran that tape to the fucking it just wore it out, and just to be able to like meet all you guys, it's a gift, dude. This was so much fun. Please come back. We would love to have you for another record. We've got great records, and I'll DM you and we'll set up the jam. Thank you for coming on, brother.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun.